November Sustainability Commission meeting will now come to order. Welcome, everyone. Do a quick roll call. Chair Amy Wolkowinski, I am here. Vice Chair Mary Metzger. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Bourne.
Here.
Commissioner Carlson.
Here.
Commissioner Conkle. Here. Commissioner Lammy.
Here.
And Commissioner Skurlock.
Here.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Commissioner Carlson, would you like to do our land acknowledgement, please?
The Sustainability Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands still inhabited by native descendants. Border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place.
I really love the way you read that. Thank you. Do we have anybody here for public comment? Then we will move on to the October minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review the October minutes, and do we have a motion to approve them?
I move we approve the October minutes.
Second.
Fantastic. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. October minutes are approved. And so with that, we can get down to business. The first thing on our agenda tonight is the Regional Plan and Sustainability Commission update by Genevieve. Thanks so much, Genevieve. Thank you to our working group too.
It's hurting.
All right, so I was just passing around some, you guys like, they're what's was on the agenda, just to print it out.
Oh, thank you. Success.
Yeah, so we have a working group that met today, so thank you to everybody who was on the working group. Let me pull up. I was looking for hard copies of regional plans, did not find any, so we got that. But anyway, just wanted to give a little bit more information for anybody on the commission who's not on the working group in case you're interested in reviewing it. Again, I know in our meeting last time, we weren't sure how the process would go, and because I think what's really challenging with the Sustainability Commission is you could literally read the whole plan versus other commissions like transportation or maybe a little more focused, could be focused on specific chapters. And so I think that, you know, that's where that feeling of being overwhelmed came from, because it's looking at the whole document, the fact that sustainability covers everything. So if anyone wants to provide feedback, I just wanted to give you a little bit of some information about that. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And I won't take very long because I have a lot to do. Yeah, so basically just a little bit of a heads up for the working group process. So we've got Cameron, we've got Mary, we've got Elijah. They are going to meet on December 5th to basically draft a letter. It's going to include feedback that's going to go to the full Sustainability Commission on the special meeting on the 12th. You will obviously have a chance to read that. Probably go to you on Monday, November 9th, or Friday, or December 9th, or Friday, December 6th. And you'll have a chance to look at it. And then during that special commission meeting is when you will have a chance to finalize the letter. You can make changes during the meeting, but we still have to leave the meeting with the final set of feedback. So what does that mean between now and then? Well, the working group members are going to be reviewing chapters 1 through 4. Those are the most important chapters. And so if anyone else would like to provide feedback, you can. You can send it to Tia, and Tia will share it with the working group members, but you can't send it directly to working group members because of open meeting laws. And so basically, I just, so yeah, the most important chapters are 1 through 4. If you wanted to focus on them, I'll just talk a little bit about what they are. So chapter 1, the introduction, it really sets the stage for the regional plan. If you read that and you're like, oh, this is really confusing, I don't know what's going on, or if you're like, this is great, you know, provide that and you want to provide feedback to Tia, you can. Again, the working group is going to be doing the bulk of the work for getting feedback on behalf of the commission. But if anyone's interested, wants to provide feedback, that would be the way to do it. So then chapter 2, how the plan works. It's important because it kind of shows when the plan is used, when it's not. And then chapter 3, goals and policies. That's really the most important chapter of the plan because it's the strongest way that it's guiding how Flagstaff grows through the goals and policies. And then chapter 4 is a land use framework, which basically shows like a map of larger land use categories. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I guess I just want to give you all an opportunity as other commission members, if you want to look at it and provide feedback. This is what I would say. Instead of focusing on the whole plan, focus on chapters 1 through 4. And then there's an appendix C that has high priority action items. Definitely take a look at that if you want and whether you agree with it. And I have more information in this document, so you have that for your review. And the other chapters are chapters 5 through 11. Those are narratives. So basically they provide the context for the goals and policies in chapter 3. And so if you're wondering, where does this goal and policy come from? You're welcome to go and take a look at those chapters. But basically chapter 3 pulls all the goals and policies coming from chapters 5 through 11 and putting them into one place. But 5 through 11 provides the context. And then just some things to think about. If you do look at it and want to provide feedback, is the purpose clear? Is the language, does it make sense to you? Are there opportunities to strengthen the language to further climate action? And when I say climate action, I'm really referring to the 3 main goals of the carbon neutrality plan, which are climate change mitigation, adaptation, and equity. Kind of looking at through those levels. There's the priorities in chapter 1. Do they resonate with you? There's themes on the goals and policies. Are there ways to kind of strengthen how we connect to the priorities? Basically, like looking at can we make this plan stronger? These are just some prompting questions. Yeah, looking at the climate action goals, thinking about in general, does the plan foster the carbon neutrality plan goals related to land use? And yeah, there's a lot. I don't want to I said this multiple times. I feel like I've talked about the regional plan every meeting for like the last time. So I don't want to be like a record. But I just want to, just following up on our conversation last time, want to provide feedback, focus on chapters 1 through 4, give Tia comments. If you have questions, you're welcome to follow up with Tia or me, I guess, would be both of us. I don't know if that would, yeah, maybe email both of us. Happy to get back to you. But basically the Sustainability Commission, or excuse me, the working group is going to get together. We're going to bring any feedback that you all provide to them, if you provide any. In addition to some thoughts from staff, they're going to draft that letter, get it to you, and you're going to look at it in the December 12th. So that's the process moving forward. And again, just want to end with like, why is this important? And I said it every time, and I think I try to get a little bit better every time in describing it. Basically, thinking about carbon neutrality plan topics related to land use very broadly. So this is the land use plan. Transportation, energy stuff, water stuff, housing stuff, public safety, like it all broadly relates to land use. But there are some things like programmatic things with like, for example, electrification of city buildings. That is not going to be, the regional plan is not going to impact that. It's kind of a programmatic decision that the city, for example, and speaking broadly, land use, how can it be strong enough so that's supporting the carbon neutrality plan because it's going to the ballot in November. So it's going to be adopted by voters. So that kind of strengthens carbon neutrality plan stuff if it supports the carbon neutrality plan. Second, it provides direction for city code updates, zoning, engineering, building, fire, and other codes to help meet CMP goals. And then it shapes larger land use and what individual developments would do. Some individual developments would do. So for example, the hospital was a rezoning. There's other rezonings that come. When that comes in, they look at it for conformance with the regional plan. So that would be applied in developments like that. So this kind of stuff things to think about. Yeah, hopefully this document's helpful. It's a lot to take in, so I would say just do your best. And again, if you don't have capacity to do a lot, that's fine. That's why we didn't have any questions.
Just want to say thank you for distilling it down to this for us. And just even pointing out that chapter 3 is a summary of all the goals of all the rest of it, that already makes it feel much more manageable. So I appreciate the work you've done to get it to this point. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate all of you for being willing and able to comment and provide feedback. And again, thank you to our working group members. We're gonna have a little bit bigger list over the next couple of weeks. But we appreciate you and thank you for your effort.
Something to read on the plane.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. And I echo the gratitude to our working group. So grateful and I'm excited to respond to this as a commission. So meeting in December will be fun. And next up on our agenda, everybody's favorite, the neighborhood sustainability. Oh, wait, not yet. These are the grant requests.
Oh, yeah.
So there are some neighborhood sustainability grants from last fiscal year that Tia will go over with us that have some change requests.
Yes, thank you. Ready to go to the next item. So we had 2 recipients from last year's grant cycle come to me in the last few weeks requesting an extension for their project, and then another group requesting a budget amendment. Within the agenda, you'll see their full letter requests. Flagstaff Shelter Services, which was installing bike racks at their Crown location, got behind schedule due to other construction factors that were out of their control. But they are ready to, and then now we're going into winter. And so they are asking for an extension through the end of their fiscal year, which is June 30th. They think they can finish it before then, but they're requesting an extension, which staff are in support of. Also, Flagstaff Community Bridges, which has really been working hard to overcome a lot of hurdles through their project time. They have gotten a lot of good input and are requesting to adjust their budget for a new concrete pad to put a commercial fridge on. And this is due to the new location that they found at the Murdoch Center. And the new commercial fridge was something that the county health department recommended to lessen the impact of fluctuating temperatures on food safety. And so that's why a new kind of concrete platform was needed at that location. So staff are in support of both of these. Does anyone have any questions that I might be able to help answer?
Where would the money come from if they're asking for an addition?
In their original budget, they had put solar because they thought it might be able to go on one of the community garden lands, and we don't have electricity hookups at those locations. So they had put solar on, but now they're actually going to be right next to a location that already has access to electricity. Anyone know if the Murdoch Center has solar already? I'm not sure.
Haven't seen it.
So,
But they've been doing a lot of work outside of it recently, so they might be.
yeah, so they're doing a lot of work. So
So they're
that
just shifting the budget around.
15 the budget, that's it. Yeah. So how do you get on the spot? I know.
So the concrete pad is new with their plan.
Yes, yeah. Flat surface to put the larger fridge on.
Are there low to zero emission concrete options available? Because I know, reviewing this year's, that we look at the alignment of carbon neutrality and like concrete usually emits through multiple process. So just worth noting, that would technically probably skew their existing score even though they've funded. So
Good point to bring up. I know there is a local company, Blocklight, that's kind of really looking at that carbon dioxide removal technology. But I am not familiar with it enough to know, and they are on a tight budget, so I'm not sure what the cost is for that. But yeah.
I just want to go back to Tom's question. So they're asking for more funding or they're just asking for an extension to be able to use that money for longer?
So they were initially asking for more funding, although they did say that they technically had enough because they got a lower bid come in than they initially were like, they were getting all these higher bids coming in. And then they finally got a lower bid that came in. And I looked down 3 different avenues for additional funding and we don't have actually like extra funding at this time. So it does work out that they're able to just move around their existing budget. So, yeah, good clarification because I had forgot that they were originally asking for extra money.
This is for that public refrigerator, right?
Yeah.
Now Murdoch Center has some kind of a pad and a structure that's just been built in front of it really recently. I wonder if it's for this. I couldn't tell. It looked like it was gonna be a guardhouse.
Well, I think they're building a garden as well.
Well, this is, I mean, literally, it's right off the street. There's this pad. There's this thing that looks like a guardhouse. I thought, what are they doing there? That might be what this is. Maybe they've already done this. Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just comment that that's a separate project.
Oh, okay. Different project.
So what is it currently sitting? Or do they have a fridge yet? Okay.
Yeah, I think they have the fridge now finally. But they've only been doing like Saturday drop-in kind of pilot days of this so far.
I dropped some vegetables and things off one Saturday and it seemed to me like it was a couple of 2 or 3 very interested people collecting the food. And there was a refrigerator unit there, but what they're really doing is putting in big ice chests because they actually hadn't, I think, done the finishing of the big refrigerator that they're talking about.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I haven't actually been down to on one of the Saturdays. Almost.
The extra vegetables in your garden, you can take them.
Second that motion. Staff support. Yeah.
Did you move to approve it?
To approve both.
Sounds good to me. Do you want to vote?
Yes, all in favor of approving these requested changes?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Good questions.
Yeah.
Does it have to be?
No, do you want to say no? Go ahead.
Say no, I think.
Let's not talk. We're still talking after the meeting.
That's a good question.
Only meanly. Won't get your rubber
No,
stamp.
Right?
I mean, I
Not
think
trying
it's
to cause a
the
big
spirit
deal.
of both of the projects still,
Yeah.
and they already have the money.
For
It's
sure.
asking for a complete change
It was
of
always
the
seen as kind of a little bit of a struggle. They have those particular projects in Los Angeles and Phoenix, where they have these big refrigerators and people from the community come with food and take food out. And their first question was, where is it gonna go? One time, I think we talked about, they asked me and I said, why don't you put it over by literacy center? They kind of looked at me like, what is that? And I thought, okay, fine, you don't know where the literacy center is. But when I was talking to them, they were at the Murdoch Center. And it is a perfect, because there's enough people going in and out of there that they can monitor it, make sure it's safe. I don't think that was their big worry. Let's say that, just plug it in.
Yeah, I appreciate that it's in the spirit of it and that the staff support it. I just feel like I don't
Yeah.
quite know enough, so.
It
If
has some
it
very
doesn't
good
cause
research.
any,
behind it. It has some very good research behind it. We all did that last year.
nice.
I think that Chair Wilkowski could jump in, but I think anyone can abstain from a vote when you weren't part of the original approval of that project anyway, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
Even if you are part of the original, you can abstain or even vote against it.
Yeah, that's fine.
This is America.
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, everybody, for the dialogue. And now let's move on to our neighborhood sustainability grant review. Tia, do you want to lead this for us?
Yes, absolutely. And Commissioner Conkle is kind of going to be my sidekick, helping
Awesome.
update the sheet as this discussion happens.
Okay.
Just a reminder, we also have one of our additional community member reviewers, Josh, in person, and Kimberly online. Thank you so much for joining the review team and for contributing your perspective, and just everyone for your time and energy on this process. It's a lot, and I know there's multiple steps, and really appreciate you all. So thank you.
It made a huge difference just having 2 additional people to participate in this process. So
Yeah.
we're very grateful. Yeah.
So today, the focus of the discussion is going to be on the total of 10 applications that fall on either side of the funding line, which I will pop up in a second. And with an emphasis on those with scoring discrepancies on those funding lines, which is not too many. It's actually only a couple. And if there's any really strong commissioner preferences. If we have time at the end, then we'll discuss those remaining projects that didn't have a chance to be discussed. Everyone on the review panel is welcome to adjust scores during this discussion. And either do it directly in, and please let us know so we can be tracking like what things are changing. And then Commissioner Conkle is going to help track that as well and make sure we have all the.
And can an edited version be that if we gave them points that we think might help them, if we kick them up a couple more, we can say, you know what, I was kind of stingy on that one, I'll give them a couple more points if that helps.
Yep, or the other way around too.
Yeah, oh, okay.
And Tia, do you want people to, if you're going to adjust scores, for them to adjust in their sheets or adjust in the all scores tab? Because the all scores tab is, all of them are linked to the sheets.
Yeah, it would be in your sheet because
On my name,
I'm
right over here, I go to
imagining-
my name.
I'm imagining that you would probably be doing like adding a point in a column for like, oh, I didn't notice they talked about that objective as well, kind of. And so that would adjust then the all scores sheet, but not the copied and paste to the every meeting,
And
right?
we're starting in terms of the ones that you think are
Right.
iffy
Good.
with 13. Is that what we're looking
I
at?
don't know how you want to have everything tracked. Like, I think it's also okay to just adjust directly in the all scores sheet. If you want it.
So
So
they-
they no longer track the exact points in all the categories, which,
Because it would take out the
yeah, like if
formula.
So when you said there's 10 that are in question, are you talking about,
Go to all scores, the ones
Got
that I didn't get.
I've got, so the 10 are after regional enhancing food security, or is, because the 10 is the top two, the top are all 10.
All right, and then let me finish my spiel really quick. And then, let's see, there are 10 highlighted, although there is one that is technically 11th below the line that is tied with the like 5th under the line. So either we need to choose if we're going to discuss that or just like not discuss that one or discuss both of them since they're tied, I think. Then we'll also keep doing calculations as things change, how many of the applications we can actually fund. So we'll look at that.
I don't see the 10 highlighted. Are you talking about number 6
Go
through, I've got the scores right in front of me. I have,
rankings.
right, green and gold. Are those the highlighted ones you're talking about? I have green and I have gold. Are those all the highlighted ones?
So the green ones are above the funding line
Okay,
and the orange ones are below the funding line.
okay, so the orange ones are the ones we're having a discussion about, is that right?
We're having a discussion about all of those actually, but not the other ones. And so, okay, first question, do we want to consider application number 3, Summit High School is 23, it's 5th below the line and it is tied with Flagstaff Leadership Program currently. It's also very close to the one above it, that's 23.33.
if we're gonna consider that one, we have to consider number.
Yep.
the lead.
So do you want to consider both Summit High Schools and Flagstaff Leadership Program or not consider either of them?
I mean, they're pointing at, a couple points away. A point and a half.
I didn't review it either of those. Did anybody
Yeah, I
look at them and feel strongly about wanting to support them?
Troy, the Flagstaff.
Number 83, I think Flagstaff leadership experience.
Oh, yeah.
No problem.
Right.
Correct.
So when we just scores, this is not the all that.
You got to do the all scores and then put it in
Yes.
the single sheet.
So.
I kind of liked it. Ask her if you think it's
And
And what about number 3 did you like? That's because we didn't read all of them, so I don't know I can't make an opinion about.
So are we gonna do both of those then? Does that sound good?
that works for me, yeah.
All right, so let's. Where do we want to
As
start?
I recall, was the Flagstaff leadership program, was that just they wanted money for food?
no, I actually liked that one. It was training people in the Flagstaff leadership program, like spending a day with them about cooking sustainably, like using all of your ingredients or all the pieces.
So it wasn't about food though.
It was about food, yeah.
There's food right there. So.
Mhm.
But it
But
wasn't
you
like-
said buying, it
No, I said,
Oh.
was it all about food? And I was thinking in terms
was
of.
about food and reducing waste.
Their own budget that they have that kind of comes into somebody providing them food when they have their little workshops and centers. And I didn't know the makeup of the leadership.
And see what I did, how I
There was a lot of
graded it.
people in it.
I did that one, and I was number 3. It's gonna sound like a goof off outing for the people doing the class. I mean, I can't say that I was all on board with it.
Yeah.
I liked it because, it seemed to me like a really creative educational day, and it was low budget. And it could, like, if it was written with good intention, it's teaching 25 community leaders some really cool tips for reducing waste in food, for, using community transportation and composting. And so I think that the possibility for that spreading out to the community was good. And it was a small budget. It was a small budget. So it was like,
It
seemed pretty
wasn't full
harmful.
7,500.
15.
No, it was,
Yeah,
yeah, it was the lowest budget we got. Yeah, $1,200 bucks.
I thought about it, because I thought they all.
Let's try to limit side conversations for the people online and for a minute taker. This is one with a scoring discrepancy, so I think it's really worth discussing. The difference between the high and the low is 16 points, which is a pretty big discrepancy. So I would love to hear more about.
Just
The
want to
people who did the
clarify.
scoring.
Not 3 or 8, sorry.
We are talking about 8.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think a couple of the reasons that I scored it somewhat lowly, I suppose, is, although I think there is the potential for a lot of knock-on sort of ripple effects throughout the community, I didn't feel like there was much sort of like support or tracking for, how are these leaders going to then disseminate this knowledge out through their networks. And then I think I would have to double check this, but if I recall, I think fully half the budget was like paying Mountain Line for a chartered bus.
Oh.
And it's not really like, yeah, it's one thing to explore the Mountain Line network and like learn about the routes and how to use it efficiently and effectively to get around. But like chartering a bus to get from, point A to point B isn't necessarily that.
And one would think that the leaders would have that information ideally anyway. And I was originally signed up to do one of these, and I have a friend who's on the leadership, and I called her, and that's when I got off of it because I violated the agreement. But I just called her to say, so what's the makeup of your committee? She says, I can't tell you that. I said, okay, fine. It's supposed to be secret.
Well, I think I asked that question in the format, and she got back with the names. It didn't mean anything to me as far as it goes. I didn't
Well, that wasn't the
recognize
head
any
person.
of them.
I know Rebecca Alvarado. I called her. I called the person.
Yeah, yeah. It just sounded more like a junket, for a group that's already doing, a class on leadership, and it didn't seem like it served anyone but them and directly anyway. So I wasn't real positive about it.
To double check the budget and see, times.
Yeah, please double check me on that because that's my recollection.
Well, no, they were.
I don't remember that, but if that's the case, I
I
think the whole point of integrating the Mountain Line into that day was, I thought it was to experience what it's like to ride the Mountain Line, not to experience what it's like to ride on a charter bus.
So it is, yeah, charter bus
Yeah.
rental, $600. And then I don't know if that's, and then there's a mountain line bus ride, $600. But the total budget is $1,250, so those must be the same thing, is that?
Yeah, I kind of assumed that was a copy paste thing, but.
So when you
Shortly,
add up all of the ones with the really good points, the good scores, how much is spent? How much is left over? Did we do that? Did we look at all the different
It's
things like
about $2,500 left
So-
over.
down to for the Summit High School, we have $2,500 or down to?
Just the top 10 are fully funded, and then even the 11th. It's very interesting because last year, I guess our top 10 were much smaller budgets, and they're able to fund up to 13, but right now we're looking at funding 10 and maybe a partially 11th or
So even the
reducing
ones below
budgets.
that, the CSA expanding access to Arizona, that one, we won't have $7,500 to give to them, so we'd have to say, we'll give you $500.
correct, but these discussions might
Sure.
re-rank things, which is, so yeah, that it is on that pre-meeting sheet, that breakdown, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
I would like to take a look at these three that we're looking at right now that are at the bottom of the list, applications 1, 3, and 8. And just comment that they're all, right around that 23-point mark, and they're at the bottom. And we've got 3 above that closer to the funding line that are also tied. And so unless anybody feels strongly that one of those 3 should get funding, I think you do feel strongly that one of them should get funding. Okay.
And 2 of them have really big discrepancies that
Okay.
I think need to be addressed.
Okay.
Which ones are those?
I think this is one of them.
This one we're just talking about and the Flagstaff Water Group.
Okay.
So,
And this one that we're talking about, we can take that out of the conversation because I know that I was the outlier on the high side. And I misunderstood that part of the budget. I thought it was like buying bus passes or, something like
Okay, I
paying
see.
for access to the bus system. So I missed the part where it said it was a charter bus. So that would lower my score.
okay.
So we can take that one
Do
out
you
of
want
the
me to plug in
conversation.
a lower score for you, or do you wanna?
I can do it. I've got the sheet
So
open.
back to
Okay.
the math. So what you're telling me is that for 19, 22, if we were just to say that we're giving the top people all their money.
So here, I have the math right here too on this page. Right, you can it's the rankings pre-meeting, and then it's column I,
Oh, thank you.
11, and 11J and 12. So funding total for applications ranked 1 through 10, 72,000.
I see that. Thank you. I didn't see that. I apologize.
Oh, okay. And then 1 through 11,
I'll ask.
that's about 2 places you can really get to.
No, I can see that.
And I think we have 5 actually here. So, okay, heads up.
So we're really talking about, if we were to say, okay, and I apologize because maybe we're not saying, oh, those top groups just get their money. Where we might be talking about jockeying some of them so we could give more money to the lower groups. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what we're currently doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Summit High School. Would like to discuss that. Number three.
Really want to.
Yeah, some of the parts I felt I could use more information on there, but I gave them a higher score because they had a lower budget request.
Seemed to me like they weren't extravagant. They were really clear on what they were gonna do. It wasn't really anything innovative, but they involved people who were going to be learning. It seemed to me like it had a longevity potential that,
What is the project?
it's the compost bins. For the, I think, lunch waste. If I remember correctly, it's 7. Does anyone else remember this?
What's the question? Sorry.
Yeah, they say,
I will say you all scored really similarly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So it's somehow spot on just below.
I actually just, I thought that they did have some level of innovation. They just didn't really describe it. I mean, they had different things like, I don't know,
Well, they did mention
urban.
Yeah, whatever that is, but. not
That's
sure.
what I felt like. They didn't really describe it, but they did kind of say that it was a new process.
Yeah,
Worms are new process.
worms in your compost or.
I mean, but it was new to them.
yeah, that is also part of the innovation.
I mean, I think since your scores were also close, it's hard to be like, okay, let's all move our scores up by
Yeah.
5 points.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We still don't have the money for it. It's like,
You
unless we take money away from something.
feeling
else.
good about sticking with your scores, everyone?
Yes, stay with the score.
Question? I'm curious about what a community acupuncture thing is that requires $7,500 since I couldn't.
That was really cool.
I didn't read it.
Yeah, it's really.
You're gonna get in the truck and run around giving acupuncture.
Basically, yeah.
They're not gonna charge them any money.
Nope.
And how is that related to sustainability? That's what I'm curious.
It's community resilience. Yeah, they do a lot of acupuncture treatments to help people deal with addiction, depression. It was a really cool program.
Teaching people how to do it.
And yeah, how to like,
The ear seeds.
yep. Yeah, kind of self-care and mental health care for those in need of that in our community.
So just a clarifying question, that is it the first project or the only project that gets it for that funding line? That's what we'll call it, or what will be the deciding factor?
So it depends how the scores end up at the end of all of this, and then you all are not like highly encouraged, but you all are welcome to look at the budgets and say, this seems maybe inflated. For example, not that this was that reasoning, but last year there were 3 on the line tied, and the commission decided to bump the awards down to $6,000 for each of them, so that all 3 of them could get funded instead of just one of them could get funded. So that is also an option on the table.
And again, what's our cap?
75,000. Yep. And just a little note here, I had asked you all if I could spend up to $1,000 on translation services. We only used about 190 of that, and we can find that elsewhere, so we're still at 75,000.
That's great. And Commissioner Conkle, you are a strong advocate for the Flagstaff Water Group.
Yeah,
testing.
well, so this was my highest scoring one, and I took a peek at other people's stuff, of course. Commissioner Sherlock, you also scored this one super high,
Yeah,
and
I really liked it.
and Commissioner Lammy wrote in his comments that he didn't think it was in the spirit of the grant, so scored it super low. So I think if we're going to eliminate somebody that scored high otherwise, because a commissioner thought it wasn't in the spirit of the grant, I think that we should all know what the project was and vote whether or not it qualifies for the grant, because otherwise it's an unfair elimination.
Which number was that?
Number one.
The biochar.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't you think it fits within the purview of the grant?
I think it's a commercial application that should be taken on by the water department. I mean, it's a big deal. They're gonna take pre-treated water and sewage basically and burn it and, use it to create a filter to filter the water at the end of the day. I mean, they had a little home science setup that they were doing it on. I don't know. It just didn't feel appropriate in that way. Would having better water be good? Yes, but it's doing experimental work on trying to find better filters and things, the purpose of a grant. I don't know. That's kind of where I lost, interest in the project as something that would make sense here. It seemed like it's something that should be research done at a level that is way beyond what's happening in their little lab, and really should have the buy-in from the water department and lots of other people. If you're going to implement something that they might determine or find out, then,
I mean, I think it did have the buy-in of water services.
did it?
Thought so. Do you remember?
I don't remember that. I mean, it just kind
They
of,
had it was in their, collaboration list.
Under their
Mhm.
community references, they
Thanks.
do show Aaron Young services. Which,
Well,
Unless I think, okay, when Roger and I were tabling, we spoke with Ward about this project. He came to one of the drop-ins. Let's double check. Because having them listed as community references does not guarantee.
Doesn't mean they're on board.
I mean, I kind of feel like if somebody is proposing a project that falls within the grant guidelines, it's hard to be like, no, if even, so like we have the rules that a project has to meet at least now one of the overall grant goals and one of the
like you.
objectives, right? So if it does those two things, do we have the ability to be like, well, no, we still don't think it fits?
Well,
Because then it's
let's
just,
look at the specific scores that were down. Maybe that would be more helpful in guiding.
I mean, it
And
kind
it's
of
not that, it's like a 0, it's a 12. So the conformity with grant goals is really low. Maybe you look at that more specifically. And conformity with category objectives, so.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, the conformity with grant goals, I gave it the full score. I thought that it, in a few ways, they talked about reducing the cost of water, involving students at various stages of their education. They already talked about having multiple different partnerships. And about students as volunteer engagement, like I think they did all of those things.
Did you get a chance to look at the updated application by any chance?
Yeah, I did. I saw the original one, so had pulled that up to kind of take
Yeah.
another look.
Check out the updated one. I know that the question about how they were engaging volunteers was updated, and I think the applicant kind of mentioned, oh, you're right, like that was kind of a weak part of the application, so it might be worth checking out.
Someone from the executive director, Friends of Flagstaff's Future, and Aaron Young from the water department. They were references, but it looks like they were also they wrote letters of support. From, so, it's in their folder. So yeah, it's more than just a reference.
I mean, I guess if the question is, should the neighborhood sustainability grant support more research-based projects or not? Like, if that's the question on the table, right? Because, I mean, Tom's right, this doesn't have a guaranteed immediate impact on the
Anybody?
community, but the idea, I mean, like, the longevity of it is, if it does, it could have a big impact on a lot of. You have to start somewhere, and sometimes you start with a lot of money that you find and apply to.
Go ahead, Commissioner Bourne.
Did they specify, like, when they get the results from their experiment, what are they gonna do from there to make it a thing after that for the community?
Well, I don't think their plan is to create a filtration system for the city of Flagstaff and have those kinds of, and that kind of infrastructure, but rather to show that it's possible.
This is the proof of concept.
Exactly. So this would be a prototype. And this is very innovative. If this doesn't get its top score for innovation, nothing should. And these guys who are involved in it, they have a history of seeing their projects to the end and completing it. No, so whether they can actually make this activated carbon filter work for the paths that are in our water, or additionally for other pharmaceuticals that need to get filtered out. That's what they're trying to find out, if they can do it. If they can, then it's an innovation that will spread through many, many water systems, not just Flagstaff.
So here, my question actually is gonna veer off of that. So I'm hearing you say that this has some real potential to it because it's directly connected to climate change, sustainability, et cetera. And I would say to you that we have we have several resilience applications. I'm not sure directly tied to sustainability or the environment or protecting us from climate change. One example for me is the market of dreams. They want $7,500 for chairs. Because they have marketing, they do these little instruction things, and they get people out there to do artwork. And it's part of resilience, because these people are selling their artwork and it's making their lives better, et cetera. I'm all good for that. But $7,500 for chairs versus $5,000 for somebody who's gonna do some exploring regarding water. I'm gonna say the same thing about acupuncture. $7,500 to put a truck together to take acupuncture around the town, when we have professional acupuncturists who actually make a living doing that. Might as well do, I mean, if you were gonna do $7,500 for a dentist who's gonna go to people who are living homeless and need to have their teeth fixed, I'd be a little bit more prone to that. So that's my point. I was just, you're looking at
Yeah.
resilience and what is
Yeah.
that connected to climate change?
I, look at these category breakdowns as well, and, that may be speaking more to how the grant guidelines are, what they allow, and I think that what you're speaking to in terms of climate action over resilience, for example, the guidelines allow all of these types of projects.
Well,
So
if you're at $7,500
we have a bigger
after
question
11,
about the guidelines, and we'll bring that up in
right,
January.
if we're at $7,500 after 11, why are we discussing moving things up, down on the bottom when you only have $2,500 to spend in the first place?
No, but you might get one of them.
Or, yeah, example.
I think.
I'd like to bring it back to this one application, and just say one more thing in support of that before we start talking about, 5 other applications, which it sounds like we might need to talk about because things might need to shift around a little bit. But, in order to solve sustainability and climate challenges that we're facing right now in Flagstaff and, the world at large, we need innovation. And as somebody who works in research and innovation, it is the hardest part is finding that little bit of money to get started and actually do the proof of concept and see if something will work. And so I'm really inclined to be supportive of this project because it sounds like it could have really amazing impact. And I think that the Neighborhood Sustainability Grant Program is a perfect place for community members that have ideas like this to come and say, hey, give us a shot.
And it sounds like everybody agrees with that. So where are we going to get that money if we
Right.
don't take it
No,
out?
we support it differently.
It doesn't, Tom didn't agree with it, and we're.
Right, so we have to address.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a
Get us
question.
come back.
Well, we have to adjust the score. We have to adjust the score first.
So Roger, what's the difference between biochar created by burning poop and biochar created by burning wood?
Oh, I think they are amenable
You
to
don't
finding
know.
out if there's a difference.
Well, that's kind of what I thought this was really about. I mean, activated charcoal's been around forever, so I was that.
Yeah, but you have to create it from, I mean, there's.
You have to
it's not
create
a-
it, yeah.
It's a way
The
to
most-
use.
Yeah, the most common and the highest quality is taking coconuts. Coconut charcoal is the best, but and there's a real question of, will it compete with adequately? So this could be really super cheap compared to artificial resins manufactured to remove these kinds of chemicals. And have it, those are super expensive but they're already in use in many.
So the coconut charcoal doesn't do the same thing as this would do?
So then
Who knows? That's what they're trying to find out.
We already knew that.
Then what we're talking about is whoever scored this, whoever the 3 people are, you're one of them, is that right? And you're one of
Yeah.
them. And who's the other third person? So you have to decide how are you gonna change your scores because we're helpless. We can be all
Yeah.
supportive of you,
Yep.
but it's your scoring that makes a difference.
Yes.
So,
So if you can't talk him into it, you're in a different
it's
place.
part
Sorry.
of a way to reduce waste, right? To utilize the byproduct as a biochar, is that correct?
And filter pharmaceuticals out of the water.
Pharmaceuticals and.
So it's a
PFAS.
different type of biochar than this other.
Yeah.
Forever chemicals.
Forever chemicals, okay, yeah.
Teflons. Teflon precursors, yeah.
Right, and I just think it was unfair that Tom didn't use the rubric.
Well, I
And,
used it, but I mean,
the rubric is meant to be at least somewhat
Like environmental,
Consistent.
or is there any environmental or carbon benefit when you're burning something? I mean, they have to burn it and put it in an oven to make the char. So they're actually creating smoke and carbon as a waste product of making this. You know, having the feedstock be something that's normally wasted is cool, but there's lots of other uses for that feedstock. We used to use organite, fertilizer was made from it in different places. So there's, it's not like it's just waste that's going into the dump. It gets repurposed. I don't know. I used the rubric. I saw it had no carbon benefit. I didn't see that it was benefiting any of the community members directly. It's an indirect, yes, if the water's better, everyone benefits. But the communities served, that we're trying to serve, I didn't see how it impacted any of them directly or would in the foreseeable future. So yeah, that was kind of where I was on this.
It's in the climate action category, correct?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it had a category.
So looking at those three objectives within climate action, promote and educate on the impacts of climate change and or reducing emissions. So like on the surface level, I didn't review it, but to your point, that it doesn't seem that are technically tied to impacts of climate change or reducing emissions. And then the second one is reducing greenhouse gas emissions from buildings, transportation, or consumption. So like on the surface level, it seems that two of those points may not be met.
I mean, they're directly involving students.
The biochar sequesters about 30% of the carbon in the biosolids.
Well, if
Project
This
is
is the
Well, you release 70% in the process of making, and I'm assuming, but you have to heat it, you have to char it. And by definition, you have to burn it.
it's gonna sequester carbon monoxide.
Yeah, you don't,
Can we table this one?
Does it have a chance if
The
I get
reality-
5 more points? Is it even in
The
the?
reality is like he's the one that's making a decision.
Or even two, so it's really close to the line. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, I could be amenable if it really, you guys feel that strongly about it, but.
what did you do
let's
on
see
the
what else there-
innovation?
Huh?
Do you think it was innovative or?
No, I definitely thought it was innovative, and I thought the science was cool.
By going to.
I just didn't see it serving the people that it's, the directly serving anybody. I
I think if it,
Did score high in it.
it's, to some extent, it's experimental, so we don't know if it's gonna serve anyone. It might fail.
Well, right.
But, so that, there's that, but if it is successful and if it does provide a suitable,
And they can commercialize it and scale it and all the rest. I mean, there's a lot of ifs.
Even if it doesn't go well, it still serves a benefit, I think, to prove that that doesn't work.
Did
that's,
it have any
that's right.
underserved people involved with it? Maybe he could add some points there.
He wasn't,
Who are the underserved people that were involved with it?
he was, if my memory serves me correctly, then he was proposing getting, that wasn't very, that was not his strong point.
Okay.
On his. on
I'm just
his
looking
grant.
for a place to get your vote.
Yeah, could I see what I supported on that one?
It's on your, oh, yeah, okay.
Also, I don't know if this helps, but just what I'm hearing, I would support putting this above the one that I have with number 3. I don't know if I'd change my score, obviously, because it's not really to do with this, but I think this is.
You haven't read this application, you're going
Yeah,
by what
yeah.
people are just telling
You
you.
didn't get any bonus points.
Yeah, I would say
I really
maybe
like,
not, since it would require adjusting a different score.
You can find this is
For a different.
Yeah. I'm reviewing their reference letters or letters of recommendation support, to see if maybe the Flagstaff Water Services Division says that if this testing actually is successful, that they might be able to implement it. Like, that's very promising
Yeah.
and would have, great longevity and a huge community impact, especially because this is to remove PFAS and other things, and the EPA soon will be implementing PFAS regulations, so. I don't know. I think it's in the pipeline, so.
So you
yeah.
you said the
I know,
letter
it's.
of, you said the letter of support does indicate that. They
I was
want to implement it.
checking. It seems like they're supportive, but, did any of you guys happen to read them?
I did, but I just.
We read
found
the
it
words we got
positive.
to score, that's the ones we have to read, that's the ones we're informed about.
So Kristen, really quick, which of the, I think we can try to get points in either the grant goals or the category objectives.
Yeah, those are two places, right, for more.
Sorry, what's your question? I was just noticing, like innovation is highly scored for this project from all reviewers, but there's a discrepancy between whether the
yeah.
application describes.
I mean, I think for overall
Yeah,
grant goals, it's hard to see that they did not build community partnerships considering they have 2 letters of support, right? So like objectively that they did that. They maybe, you're right, the involvement in a meaningful way, different populations. And they talked about involving students. They talked about how they want to have students working on projects like theirs that are solving real world problems. Like I think and the potential to involve or the potential to impact a lot of people is kind of where I was like, okay, maybe they're not currently doing it with the research, but big potential. And then for climate action category, education, like right away involving high school students in the research project feels like an education component. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions and or rubber chemicals, I feel like we could fall into that category, right? Like,
So while
and then encouraging climate action through behavior change, community action or workforce development, like this is a community action. If we were partnering with if they're partnering with the water services and they get them to agree if this research works to implement at a larger scale, like that is encouraging community action. So I mean, I think it's hard to say that they don't do anything related to what we ask of the grant.
Well said.
And even though they don't talk about education in number 13, it is directly above. So I don't think it has to be like only in that response since they do talk about it above.
Well, and they added an educational outreach component because I asked a question about it to them. So in their responses that they gave last week, they updated that.
They also,
In there.
in one of their letters of support, it says it's giving up, or it has an opportunity to give local students an opportunity to apply scientific methods to real world applications. So I guess they're basically students.
It just seems overly aspirational and not concrete enough to really be the one that we give the funding to, is kind of where I'm stuck on it. Yes, it's a great research project, but I didn't sense that this was what that was about.
So Commissioner Landy, do you want to leave your score as it is?
Yeah, I'm comfortable
Okay.
with my score.
Okay.
Well, I'll bump my score.
Shoot, Angel, this is the content that I.
Yeah. I know, yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
I'll take the chairs out. I don't want them to have chairs. I'll take theirs down and then that'll bring yours up.
So yeah, I think we should at this point either decide whether anybody who is a reviewer on this project is going to adjust their scores at all and
I moved mine up.
to move on.
Well, not I didn't give them the bonus point. They don't.
So does that mean we want to bring other people down so we can get them up?
Roger.
Yeah,
You
we're
want
gonna
to
have
bump
to
your
do that.
score?
Yeah, well, which
That's what we're doing.
So I'm willing to get rid of the chairs.
You gave us
Anybody want to give up the acupuncture?
minus 2 points on grant goals. And minus 1 point on target neutrality.
I make one more point to Tom, just about the aspirations of it. I mean, I'm reading their 2 letters of support, and the people from water services, they even specify that it might have contributions to them, but they're saying that they're putting in 40 new materials that whether or not it has positive results, it'll still look good for them because now they have these results from 40 different things that they don't have to test themselves.
So they're gonna do the water department's business job for them. Is that what you're saying that they're gonna do? That what it says?
Sure, I mean, well, I guess if you want to call it their job, but it's.
Well, I mean, what they're saying is that we won't have to test for these now because you're gonna give us this data.
Well, and I
It's a
don't know.
verifiable data. Is that right? It's like scientifically proven, so
Staff
they won't
don't
have to
have
test for anything.
endless capacity
Yeah.
or funding to do some.
I realize that. That's what the department
Yeah, I
is saying.
mean, I don't see anything wrong with that about. I mean, they're looking for any data that they can to make their job.
No, I'm not
to
saying
do
that
it.
either. I'm just saying,
Actually,
in terms of the logic, are they actually going to be able to utilize that data for
Yeah.
verification? Or are they just going to say, this sounds like a good idea, we might get more information?
I mean, more information can't hurt.
It can't hurt if it's reliable. If it's not reliable, then it doesn't.
Alrighty,
But if it's not, I mean,
So
if
Tia, would you mark mine?
money makes it reliable.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, I mean,
it can't be
can they-
reliable without.
could the water department even use data they collect? They're not a lab, it's in the garage, it looks like. And so they might, get anecdotal kinds of information out of it, but it's not gonna pass anybody's muster in terms of, actual results. It's gonna have to be retested and, if they claim, results, they're gonna have to verify them, independently. It's a big deal. I mean, it's a cruel idea. I dig it. I just
Well, it's a
don't
small
think it's-
investment compared to
alright,
chairs.
let's wrap this.
This might not get anywhere.
Or even
The chairs are resilient. Or
Sure.
acupuncture, that's
Yeah.
All right, so
Roger,
the
you're
next
welcome.
one is, let's
Okay.
let's wrap it up.
right.
The next one is the school carpooling project. We have the applicant online with us too, if you have
Oh,
any
that's nice.
questions. Oh yeah, and Vice Mayor Aslan had some points in the
In the chat.
chat. Great discussion on the biochar water submission. You're all navigating different points of view with incredible grace and respect. I have no skin in this game, but wanted to add the point that biochar is going to be a big thing regionally for this area. Yeah. We have so much biomass in need of processing for forest thinning, so the biochar is there and looking for a way to be used. It's not going to be created from scratch to address an experimental need.
And I think to add on to that point
Thank you.
is I believe part of the carbon neutrality plan talks about the city finding ways to implement, I don't know, biochar, biomass.
The local ingredients are always good for whatever you're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
Just like emphasizing that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good discussion. All right, so who, looked at this application? And do you have any questions or
The
comments?
Which
carpool.
one? Number 25?
Yep.
I looked at that one.
And there was some productive.
Here you are on the hot seat again. Dang.
All right, there were productive conversations during this Q&A period too that I wanted to highlight with the Flagstaff Unified School District, TSA. So yeah, any
All your scores are
questions,
super close,
comments?
24, 25, 27.
Did everyone that graded this get the chance to look at those Q&As?
I do not.
Okay, do you want to take a moment or do you have any questions?
I mean, what were the Q and A specifically about? Cause I didn't like score this one low. I had a pretty high score for this one.
I had asked if they had considered using already built applications because they were looking to develop their own app for carpool sharing with interns and things. And I thought that was a little dicey of a prospect, but I liked the idea. And they mentioned in the app that there were existing, apps that did it. So, that was basically the question. Have we researched that? And I think the answer was yes. And we think that's probably the way we want to go after, reconsidering our thing. So I'd probably add a point to the thing from my own score for that reason that, yes, we are going to utilize, an existing app, for this purpose and, work on getting the city of Flag or the Flag schools to, sign off on the subscription, because I think that was the hang up was that a lot of people who would benefit from having a carpool access may not be able to afford a subscription service to a coordinated.
So in a nutshell, what is this grant? What is this carpool? What are they doing?
Basically trying to make an app that is like a place to connect community members and parents to be able to carpool with their
Kids at school.
For elementary school, high school, NAU?
All of
I
it.
don't know quite NAU.
It was
It was more for parents. Yeah, it was more for parents.
people driving their kids to school. and-
Well, okay, and you know that that any distance in an elementary school within 1 mile, they have to give them a bus ride. If they're outside that mile, then parents have to drive. So a lot of parents drive it's anywhere.
Isn't it the opposite?
Yeah.
It's the opposite, I think.
Outside a mile.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I did not have bus rides and I was more than a mile less.
It's not they like had shifted it based off the shortage of.
They might have.
Nevertheless,
just change
there are
the
law,
rule.
my point is there's laws about it. You know, so there's something that they have to resolve.
I mean, I
Did
think,
anybody ask the
I
question
think
about
they
the
made a
liability?
pretty strong case that, you know, this is something that is needed. I think, you know, anytime you're driving around Flagstaff in the morning near a school area, you see how congested the drop off is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess to the point of there are buses, there are some buses, but
Yeah, there are buses that have like 85 seats on them and 3 kids riding.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Or 3 to a seat.
yeah.
No, literally only 3 seats on the 3 kids on the bus.
I mean, and not only that, but it has good,
Boy,
you know, obviously it also has a good impact on greenhouse gases.
well, of course, was it NAU that just bought 2 electric buses or?
So Tom, you wanted to. Did that happen?
I did not do it. I just kind of listened to the conversation. But, you know, the doctor answered the question I asked, and I thought it was a good answer. So, yeah, I would, you know, the longevity was where I dinged it, you know, in my original scoring, and I would give it another point there for sure. The longevity, you know, because of the redirection that they're taking. And this is probably my aspirational one a little bit, because I could also see this benefiting a lot of the kids whose maybe parents aren't quite as on top of things as some others. And if they're part of a carpool, you know, you got a little synergy in a community to help get the kids to school on time, you know, things like that. And it seemed like a way to engage the community at a bigger level than just, you know, that as well. So, you know, I saw some aspirational kinds of things in this one and might have nudged it up a little bit for that reason.
What do you guys think the longevity is?
I think we all had questions about, you know, this funding might get the app up and running in the next year. But, you know, just as platforms, devices, as it all changes, how does that, you know, continue to stay functional? And I think we had an answer from Kate on a couple of different ideas in the Q&A there. I don't know if she wants to speak to it herself, or yeah, we could read from the Q&As, but.
Hi, sorry, I don't know if I should speak now, but I would love to address some of your questions if possible.
Yes, please.
Okay. Great. So just to give some background, middle school and high school students in Flagstaff from public schools no longer have any bus service, and this is a recent thing. Yeah, I thought going into this project that bus service was required in public schools as part of public education, and there's actually no law against that. And at the moment, it only exists for elementary schools. But with that, I know plenty of elementary families who also have problems with it. And also the charter schools, people in Flagstaff in charter schools, and they have no bus service. It's a city bus problem and a school bus problem that they can't find enough bus drivers. I've been in contact with an organization called Metroplan that's been trying for years to get the school district on board. And they've done studies about the air quality since these bus cuts have happened, and it's getting a lot worse. The more bus cuts there are, and the congestion on the roads is obviously getting worse. On the question of the apps, so I talked to 2 of the providers recently since you raised those questions. And I also think it's a good idea to go with an existing app. But since talking with them, I also found out about a free app. So I'm looking into that more. There's an open source app for carpooling as well. And the school district has agreed to share the contacts of families. So if I could somehow manage that with the free app to make sure that it's secure, I think that that would be a more viable long-term solution. The other thing about the longevity is that the parents only need to connect once in a lot of cases to have a carpool that's going to last for years and for the whole school time.
Okay, I'm willing to get rid of the chairs.
I also read the chairs.
Can I ask a follow-up question? if it sounds like you found an open source app that you're considering now, I guess what would be the idea with this grant budget moving forward?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So it would have some administrative costs for myself and possibly other people that I would need to bring in to help set that up. Probably so. People with more of a software background who would still kind of be needed, and then just to figure out how that works and get that rolling. So I probably would need to pay for some services for that, especially if it's a really large scale thing, which I would like it to be.
Commissioner Russell.
How hard cast is your budget? I mean, I haven't read your grant, but listening to you, I just told Ruby, I'm willing to help her out, but how much?
Thanks. Right. So ideally, the more we get, the bigger the project can be, the more schools we can get on board. So if it's a smaller amount, then I would still like to do it. My objective is to get cars off the road. But we can do a much bigger project the more money we have.
Thank you.
I have a question. Kate, did you get, this is Tia, did you get the impression from the school district, I don't know if Michael said much, but that they would have the capacity to help also carry this out in the long term? Would an administrator be available or?
Right, and that's a great question. So my impression is that they're on board with the idea. They recognize that this is a crisis, but it's just getting caught up in the bureaucracy. And no one's actually willing to step forward and get this done. It's also, yeah, it's quite costly if they want to do it for the whole school district. It's like $30,000 a year is the cheapest one that they found. So I think they're reluctant to put that money forward. So that was the original idea of creating our own. But now that I see this open source one, that might be an option. Another option would be using the grant to do a pilot project with some schools, and then this school district might find, wow, that really works great. And people love it. So now that we see it works, we're less hesitant to put the money forward.
I have a quick question for you. If you did use the open source platform, what would the administrative costs be rather than, the cost of the application? Like,
Okay.
how would it reduce your budget?
Right. So the open source, it also depends on how big we want the project to be. Because I think that's what's going to determine like how many hours we spend on it and so on. I would probably budget like $22 an hour for myself and whoever can help me as maybe an intern. But if it's professionals, if we need to bring in software professionals, I assume it'd be at least $60 an hour. And then per school, maybe budget in like setting it up for each school, maybe 16 hours, 20 hours, something like that. With the liaising with the administrators of the school, getting the information in and setting that up and so forth. So it really depends like how much money we get, we can adapt it to that, whether it's one school or two schools or 10 schools, however that will work out. We're flexible. I just really want to get the project rolling.
Since the assistant superintendent for transportation no longer has work since there's no buses, maybe they could give you some of their money and time.
Right. I've been trying. I've been trying to talk with them about them doing that. And they seem to love the idea of me getting the grant and starting it and are willing to work with that. And they seem to have really cold feet about actually starting it themselves.
Just a reminder about the budget. As things shift, if you do receive funding, we'll want to work together because more than 50% of the grant funds, it's up to 50% of the grant funds can be used for staff time and admin costs. So if stuff shifts around, we'll just want to work together on making sure that you're still in compliance. So.
Right. And the other thing I'd like to put in the budget is publicity. I was even thinking of this. I was thinking like, it's not rocket science to set this up. Like we could have a series of Google Docs. It doesn't have to be a sophisticated software. And then we do local publicity, like we have events. And I work with Flagstaff Shakespeare Company, for example, and we could have some big event that a lot of people are going to come to, or events in schools where people come together and we have a big map. We could do this this old-fashioned way, and they put their numbers on the board, and there's lots of ideas like that to explore as well that are more low tech. But I would really want to work with you guys on that in whatever shape. There's just lots of options, and I think working together is the way. But for the budget, that just reminded me, because there's stuff like posters and publicity and maybe performances and things like that that could figure into the budget as well to get the word out, whether we do a low-tech solution or an open source or a paid one, or a combination of those.
Do you have one more quick question? We got
What school would you start with?
Say that again.
Sorry?
School would you start?
I'm not sure. I mean, my son goes to basis, so personally as a parent, I would love that. But I know that there's schools that might have more demand for that. I think schools, low-income schools would be a priority. So I think that like a low-income middle school might be a better priority for that, for a starting school.
Thank you so much, Kate. We really
Thank
appreciate
you all. Yeah, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, well, this is your last chance if anyone wants to revise any scores on this.
And score that one. So I can't
Yeah,
find
no
it.
problem.
And remind me who the commissioners on that grant were. You were Tom.
25.
Lammy.
And myself.
Okay.
I'll change my longevity to 4.
It would be the only transportation one we have. We were talking about how transportation.
See that?
Transportation
You
is
wanna do
huge.
something.
Change that, yeah.
Change it directly.
You change it in your sheet, it'll auto update.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you can change it in your sheet.
so if you have a computer and you're doing it, then that's easier.
Okay.
Great. Let's see, the next one is the Fala School Garden to Community Table. And this is actually also tied with the Flagstaff CSA. So
How is it tied to the flags? Oh, because it's the same score.
same score. Yeah. Both food projects, asking for the same amount.
19 and 22.
Does anyone feel really strongly about either of those that they want to kick off the discussion? Applications 22 and 19. Mayor?
I scored the SCA service score. Is that it? No,
Nope, that's way up. That's
okay. And I'm not one of the scorers. I don't get to do it.
So let's see.
I'm sorry. Is it NAU botany for? No.
I was in on 22.
Yeah, the star of the show. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't write either one of those.
Both the 22 as well.
I did as well.
Your perfect score from Morse.
I guess I'm
Okay.
fine.
I think I kind of mid-scored it. In some parts, it sounded like we were just stocking the fridge.
Hey, that fridge is important. I voted for it
Well,
last
and
year.
then I get that. I just, it seems like a renewal of an existing app was kind of my hesitation about scoring it higher. I just look at the,
What is the
score.
Fala School Garden to Community Table? That sounds. Right, but what is it? I don't have it.
Oh, Tom, you did both of those, I see. It's someone that.
I'm thinking of a different one. This is the one the school was gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
the
of a different
school
one.
is,
So you didn't vote for that one?
No, I didn't.
Their,
It's a different.
their project in 1 to 3 sentences.
Yeah.
Says, the project entailed the rejuvenation of educational gardens and food preparation areas at the Flagstaff Arts and Leadership Academy. Used for educational, community-based, building purposes within the school community and Flagstaff. So,
I think some of the things that I really liked about this one, first off, I did just think that their application was really well written. They did a really good job of sticking to the questions asked and answering them clearly and concisely. Which isn't everything, but definitely helps when you're reading these applications. But I also really liked that they didn't just talk about how, oh, we're gonna start this garden, we're gonna set up this kitchen, but they really talked about a lot of different groups and programs that would be able to use these spaces and how it would like really meaningfully
Who are the other groups?
enhance sort of the programs that these different groups are offering. It's a lot of student groups.
Oh, it's at the school.
Yeah, it's at the school.
It's not just one group, okay.
It is at the school. So this is, primarily a project that's helping students. But I think that, it can be said that students are, underserved members of the community.
Well, and
in
it's,
some ways.
Well, teenagers.
they had a
are too much
unique,
milk.
they say that they serve a unique demographic of youth who identify as Indigenous, Latinx, and or LGBTQ.
Did everyone give them that
And they
bonus?
say approximately a quarter of our households are economically challenged.
You want to follow up?
That's what it says. What was that?
Oh, I was just wondering if everyone had given them the bonus point.
I did not.
I did not.
Somebody was a good grant writer.
I'll say it. But I did give them full conformity with grant goals.
If they get full conformity, then they would get the bonus point.
And I had asked them a question, but I don't remember what that response was.
How they engage.
I thought it was,
Yes,
yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks.
Like,
Good point.
I was like, I didn't know I was on that.
No,
Okay.
you're right. Being fully involved.
Yeah, I also think it was a strong application.
Schools usually have good grant writers. No, they do. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they have to write a lot of grants.
I bring up number 19 then.
Yeah, please.
Well, I mean, I see that my score is higher than common.
I this is too.
Kimberly, and I'm just curious what it was that made you probably give a little bit less score than I did.
And I think that's when I was thinking, when I said it sounded like restocking the fridge, was going on for the city is basically funding to buy food to sell and offer through the CSA. And I mean, okay, but they've already been funded once, and I didn't know that this was supposed to be a recurring, kind of program for restocking the fridges or whatever. The idea was they would become self-sustaining at some point.
You can reapply after 2 years, is
You
that it?
can reapply. Technically, these aren't the same. This group didn't apply before. This is a new group.
So the 19 is,
Yeah. It is similar to one of last year's projects-ish, but a different group.
oh, it's not the same group.
So different people may benefit, yeah.
So what category was it that they lost most points in for you?
Longevity, because it's a one shot, here's your money, spend it, and now it's gone. So there's no, kind of amplifier or any sort of furthering of it.
Yeah, I'm not, now that you're saying that, I gave them full points for longevity, but I think you're right on that. I'll drop my score for longevity on that.
Commissioner Conkle and Tia, as we're working through these conversations and adjusting scores, do you have a current page with that funding line to see where things are falling now with these adjusted scores?
Yeah.
No, but we could do that. I mean, it's updating automatically in the all scores tab, but just not in, it's just still in numeric
Right.
order of the expense, not in funding order.
Okay.
The ranking's fine.
Should we
I can sort it.
filter sort it? Yeah.
Yeah, just sort it by that average score column.
Thanks.
It would be helpful for me to just see how things look at this point.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
also just want to let everyone know that we have basically a half an hour left. So this has been awesome dialogue. Let's just try to, yeah, keep things moving. So
Kim, did you have anything to add to the CSA one? I saw you were a reviewer on that.
Hi, everybody. I was just, yeah, I had one thought was, what do they so after they get their first shipment of food and they give it out to everybody, then what, how are they going to be able to do that again? And is that the whole concept is just to purchase food and then put it in the fridge for people? And how would that be sustainable for the future? And what do they do with the blemished food? Because I'm sure not all of the food is going to come in super fresh.
There is an app where you can go to find food that's useful that
Do you
people.
just want to speak to how you felt about the longevity
I mean,
aspect?
I was already pretty much convinced with Tom's thing and sounds like Kimberly too, so I already dropped my score on that.
And then I think Kimberly on the blemished food question, that was the one question they had asked of them, and they said they'll still pick up blemished food, produce, and then let's see.
CSA.
They said it's still part of their distribution.
Okay.
Oh.
I don't think anybody would want to pick up blemished food. I figured it would go to a compost somewhere.
Well, they have
I
an
think
app where you can go get.
Flagstaff Community Fridges does work with Forestdale. That's just like personal insight I have, but I'm not sure why they didn't speak to that here. Probably because it'd be Flagstaff Community Fridges, maybe going through and choosing that instead of the CSA. But if the CSA is purchasing it, the food, then, ideally it's not blemished food because it's directly from the producers, it sounds like.
Yeah,
So.
okay.
Okay, well, it sounded like there were a couple score adjustments there, but not necessarily on the 22. Is that correct? Just move on.
How did that affect that CSA one?
Yeah, let's.
I think it
No, no,
dropped
it
it.
dropped it.
Yeah.
23.
22 or something.
it looks like maybe we should focus on the Market of Dreams Table and Chairs project. Finally.
I actually just adjusted
I brought that
one
up
point
earlier,
on that,
didn't I?
Oh, you did?
so it brought it down a
Okay,
third of a point, just saying that's updated.
okay. Let me just make sure my
Are
sheet's.
you skipping the region?
No, we need to talk about
Those
that
are
one as
tied
well.
too,
Those
right
are the
now.
two that, depending on how the scores go there, things could really settle out, based on these conversations. So, I'm happy to discuss either. Could start with the Regen Consulting, Enhancing Food Security Through Mapping, since that's right on the line. And I reviewed that one and it looks like I'm the highest scorer. So there might be some wiggle room for my point system, but I thought I do recognize that this was lacking some of the grant goals. There's no volunteers involved in this project. What I really like about it is it's data-based, data-driven. It's essentially like a consulting job. Like I thought that was a really innovative use for a neighborhood sustainability grant to pay for the analysis to bring together information that will help us with our sustainability with respect to food. So the project is to create maps that portray arable land in Flagstaff, where we have community gardens, where there's community agriculture, where producers are, where markets are. So just kind of create a network. And it's something that could be really useful for decision makers at the city, could be useful for community members, could be useful for farmers, local farmers, in business planning, and that's something that the city doesn't have bandwidth to do. Again, doesn't have the volunteer aspect, and one of my hesitations is with the longevity. So because maps usually have to be maintained, updated, et cetera. Yeah.
If you noticed in the question and answers, I had asked a question. I can't remember if I clarified if it was me or not. This is something, that
Your section of the school?
it was question and answer.
Okay.
Anyways, I asked staff for further comments, because they really understand
Oh,
that
thank you.
food systems assessment that was just published.
Excellent.
And so I'd asked the applicant if they had read it. It was still a bit unclear, and staff did share that some of the items were already taken care of in the assessment, but there is some opportunity in some of the project.
Okay.
I was wondering about that. It kind of seemed in the application like they were collaborating with the city on enhancing what was going on with the food systems assessment. And then when I saw that you asked that question, I was like, I haven't talked to the city at all. So I'm glad that you asked that because I didn't
To
really.
read it, and I'm not sure they have.
Yeah.
Really.
Because at first I was like, this feels a lot like this food systems assessment that just happened. But it was, to me, it was taking that assessment and making it into a GIS map, basically.
Yeah, so the key takeaway from our food folks is a portion of what they are proposing has already been completed or is in the works via the USDA grant. However, some of the work they are proposing would help support food systems initiative.
Okay.
Pretty neutral on this one.
Okay.
I just want to say, I felt like they didn't say anything about food recovery efforts. Like, that was one of the key things for the conformity with category, increased food recovery efforts, and they said basically nothing about it.
I didn't give them full points for that either.
And I also felt like the whole thing about education was lacking.
They did update that in their Q&A.
Okay.
Nicole also said, I want to point out to ensure there's no overlaps with the recent USDA food assessment.
There are none.
No, she's just saying ensuring.
So, quick question on that. Let's hypothetically, if this was funded, would we request that they pivot to the areas that aren't fulfilled with that grant or a food assessment? I'm like, is that within like our purview as a commission that grants these?
So, and the next step in this is essentially going through like a contract signing and like grant signing, and that requirement will refer back to their application. And so I'll have discussions with them about their project ideas, and that's something that I could address at that point, and I would. I'm wondering if, given that, if there's any like budget adjustments to be considered as well.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like a hypothetical path that, they could have a reduced budget.
Yeah.
The pivoted like towards a primary.
Yeah.
The question is, do you really like the concepts and what they plan to do, et cetera, and if that's in place, then keep proposing.
Keep it as is.
Okay, I actually dropped my conformity with category or with overall objectives by 1 point.
Where is that showing up? It's not showing up on my screen.
It's
False.
And the all scores tab is.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
average score.
Is that where that's where you're putting your changes right there? Right in there.
I put it in my sheet and then it updates to the
Okay.
average score. So that
Okay.
didn't have much of an effect, but maybe moving on to
Yeah.
the Market of Dreams.
Yeah, Market of Dreams Table and Chairs project.
And one other quick note, we did
Oh, yeah.
go over number 22, that I do have a note that like I was kind of between 2 points, and so there's a potential that could be bumped up a little just, and I think it was a very strong proposal, so. Like they got 26, even without that bump up extra on my side, so. And that was for the FAL, so. That's the potential movement.
I'm gonna drop my score for number 19 to a 1 on the conformity with category 2.
They're not tied together, right? I mean, they could be awarded separately.
Yeah, there, you had them separately, because, but they have the same
Make
scores.
those
That's
changes.
right.
Convincing or?
Yeah, if you're gonna drop it and you have your laptop open, you can just go ahead and do it in your tab. Yeah.
Kind of concurrently, considering removing a point from the
Nice.
PAVA.
That seems like a trade-off.
Yeah.
Because he thought, well,
Somebody
we want to write in grants, who needs them?
Yeah. Okay, that's fine, do it, like, and then. So Market of Dreams, Table and Chairs project, who reviewed that? We've got.
I did.
I'm interested to hear about that one.
I actually scored it pretty low, so I'm not sure how much I can help you with that one.
Looks like Tom scored it the highest.
Oh, that was a good program, ready-made. They've already serving the communities that we want to serve. They need chairs and tables. I mean, it's pretty simple. You know, okay, that's
Yeah.
what you need to fund your center, and it's a community center, and it's been used that way in the past, then, you know,
That's,
chairs last a long time.
that's where I put in, I keep putting in, how does it relate to sustainability and environmentalism? Which comes back to acupuncture, and it also came back to last year when we were doing the counseling sessions on people who are stressed out because of climate structure. So it's interesting, we have a lot of resilience grants, but not very much in terms of food and the environment.
Resilience is a pillar within the,
Pretty
climate.
too.
yes, but it's a pillar within climate action of today, but also within the carbon neutrality.
So in that.
Just saying that in general.
No, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you. So you're saying that, for example, people who do craft fairs, with people who are selling what their culture does, that's part of resilience. But that's a pillar.
The Market of Dreams, as you likely noted in the application, is also one of the 3 resilience hubs, part of our EPA grant.
Should I raise it up then? I should probably get to it.
I'm not, like, that was very clear in their
I
application.
mean, I have
so
lower
if
points
that-
on it. So just like,
Yeah.
letting you know.
Can I ask a question about it?
Yeah.
Is the only thing that they're purchasing chairs?
Tables.
Table.
How are they doing volunteer engagement and how does that relate to chairs? How are they doing?
Oh, this.
They already have one.
education?
When they
That's
have
already in
meetings,
place.
they have meetings with their volunteers, they need to have someplace for them to sit.
But
Literally, that's what they said. So
don't-
we have all these things going on and we need places for people to sit and work with their projects, et cetera.
Kind of supporting a bigger grant picture. They've already got volunteers, they've already got people. They've done all these other
They're doing
things. The
cultural development,
application is
diversity.
pretty clear in all of that.
And I guess this is maybe a question for Tia. If the budget request is something, like they're already doing the volunteer engagement, they're already doing the education. If we don't give them this money, all of those things are still happening. Right? So like this
Still,
as a
Yes,
as a
anyone,
project is
there.
not, it's by its price for, right, it's not like, what is the money going to? And that's the same issue that I had kind of with the,
Acupuncture.
no, I didn't do that one. With the Tusk Urban Farm, which I love the farm, where they've gotten grant from before, I love what they're doing, but they wanted to like buy supplies to enhance the infrastructure of their farm. Regardless of the fact that they're already still doing all of these outreach events, right, which is great, but if we don't give them the funding, they're still doing all their education, they're still, so like the money, I just don't really know what the commission thinks about. Shouldn't the funding go towards a project versus go towards purchasing something for an organization that runs projects? Right, like they're already doing those projects, money should go towards actual project, like what does their
Well, this kind of fits into that. Now, I can't believe I'm defending because I thought tables and chairs were ridiculous. This kind of goes in that same thing where we were looking at tools for the library. They want more updated tools and you're kind of going, you have tools. But if you're going to sustain something and continue it, and this has been 2 years since they made an application before and you're enhancing, then yeah, they need to have better tools because they're loaning them out to people who can take them to their homes and fix their homes and blah, blah, blah. It's all resilience.
Larger projects take a lot of support to continue over time in both like supplies and personnel. And so like I read the town site urban garden farm application and I really liked it. I thought everything that they were doing was going to enhance the experience for people that were coming and make it more accessible to more people. And so yeah.
No, and I agree. It just was the conflict in my mind of
Yeah.
like, if we don't give them this money, they're still doing all of the things that fall under the grant goal.
Yeah, I hear that.
Buying chairs doesn't get them to a grant goal.
So maybe that's an application that we could,
Buy a few ones.
yeah, exactly. We could say maybe a few less, like we support this idea, but there are some
Less money.
really,
Yeah.
there are other projects that have more potential impact in the community. So
Buy tables.
get
buy
what you,
chairs,
get
but
what you can with X number of dollars.
I definitely feel what you're saying.
Yeah, like
And
right on that.
I made a note that they were only tangentially.
Maybe they get the 25.
You know, like only tangentially innovative because of, you know, they're banking on the resilience of type stuff. So like, and like tables and chairs, like, yeah, they're very utilitarian and useful, but like they're just buying plastic and metal chairs, good longevity, but like they got a 1 on carbon neutrality, like alignment, because it's like definitely not lowering carbon emissions or climate emissions.
I did the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
just kind of supporting.
I gave them a lot of points for the longevity because those chairs are gonna last a long time.
That's true.
And they also got points for the additional cultural piece because it's a group that does Native American arts and brings in people who maybe not be able to make a living, except that they're using this central feature. And the thing they wanted to do with the tables and chairs was do training, educational pieces for people so they could come in and learn more about what they can do.
And
differently.
was that, so like in their timeline for what are they doing for a whole year, right? Like, what are they doing for a whole year? Like, are they buying chairs in January and then, right, like, that's why I'm like, what is the project?
They're gonna have,
So
then they're gonna have to store those tables later.
And I don't even think they said
And if
where
it
they-
snows, they're gonna have to find another place to put them.
You know, I don't know, I just kind of feel like the proposal should be related to a project that they want to implement or like a clear project that's happening versus.
I have
it's
a
just sort of an agency.
I have a different definition
I
of
think
resilience
if-
too, so my stress is that I've been resilient.
So a couple years ago, they got
He thinks it's a pillar.
funding to help remodel. They just finally are opening, so they really are just now like opening to the public. And so I don't think it's like.
Are they fixing their chairs? Like, do they have to buy $7,000 worth of new chairs? Can they go to the Savers Half Price Monday for chairs?
Yeah.
We give them less money, and hopefully they'll
Like,
be
do they have to
resilient
brand-
and figure
We
something
could,
out.
we could give them less money if they're gonna,
Do they have to be brand new chairs for $7,000? That just seems
Yeah.
like really.
The longevity's gonna fall apart if they're old broken down.
That's-
after Lisa.
Yeah, you don't have to buy the first, all the broken down chairs.
Yeah, I didn't like the ones
So
that were
like those that graded it, are you changing?
any score
scores?
changes.
Could also, if it's right on the funding.
It's one of the
just
lowest
reduce
scores I did.
the Amount too.
I just looked at that.
So I'll update my budget feasibility down a point. Due to like, yeah, they don't need all brand new things. They can achieve the same goals. So I'll make that adjustment.
I'll take a point out for conformity to category, because I'm not really sure what that category is. Resiliency, come on, resilient.
All right, and then the next two that are being discussed are also tied, so those might be the final two that are discussed, and that's application 20 for Townsite Urban Farm and 13 elevated gardening grow food at high altitude for people and pollinators.
Mary, do you want me to do that for you?
He's right here, he'll do it.
You can just change it.
So I think just going back to what Amy pointed out, and there is that kind of scoring
So now there's the
discrepancy.
two. And then it
So. Yeah, it's this tension between, but
Is it between resilience and something else? What are we looking at?
Yeah, and what we just talked about, Commissioner Consul, that's not part of the rubric.
What is it?
What, that whole discussion we just had about like whether it's project-based or.
Right.
So,
That's why I was
so
like
this
asking the
is,
question.
so this is something to note for next time when we review the process, if there are things that we're getting stuck on in these discussions, then perhaps that's something we should include in the rubric and include in the information that we're giving.
Yeah. Or,
The
yeah, or in
applicants.
like the applicant eligibility, are you enhancing, if you're enhancing a current program, like, are you able to do what you're doing without making the purchase? I don't know,
I'm just saying, I think we need to make a note of that and talk about
I
it
agree.
because
Mhm.
like what we've been discussing is not even in the rubric. And so it basically comes, like, we weren't considering it when we were reviewing the grants.
Yeah.
And so we're having a conversation about it now, which is good. But it would be better if we were all, and if applicants were applying with that in mind as
Yeah.
well. So they could, be responsive. So the town site urban farm, I have the highest score on that one. I really liked the project. I thought, the signage would bring more people in. People that walk by there every day might not even, yeah.
Yeah, I walk by there all the time.
You have,
I had no idea.
yeah, really? See, there you go. So, and it sounded like they have great community collaborations, the education aspects there. So I really liked this project. But if somebody with a lower score, like wants to tell me where they scored it lower or why, that might be helpful for me to consider.
We did, I think it's updates to farm infrastructure, which
Okay, oh, I see. Okay.
would, like, I think they're doing really great things there. They're going to run all of those education sessions, whether or not they get the sign. I don't know, we've had a lot
So
of.
where did
side
you,
projects
where
in the
did you
past
mark
week.
them, where did you mark them down for that? Like what categories did you give them less points is, I guess what I'm getting at, because,
What was that?
20. I think I gave them a relatively low score
did.
in the project.
you gave them the lowest score of all of us.
Wait, I thought it was in the middle. Wasn't I in the middle?
Well, you and I, our scores are different by 11.
No, I
That's
think,
me and you.
yeah.
Oh, that is you. Okay, never mind.
Hey, which is why you're having
Okay.
such a, yeah.
Have
We're
another
having such an interesting discussion and I'm
This
just in the middle.
This is great, though.
So I gave them a pretty low score on conformity with grant goals because everything that was conformity with grant goals is stuff that is just already, that they're already doing.
Okay.
Not stuff that, so they talked about, they mentioned continued collaboration with the agencies that they're already collaborating with. They mentioned continued volunteerism. Right, so it's just like things that they're already doing.
So,
and
so
smart.
on the exact same token, I gave them full points in that category because because I was looking at it from the perspective, is this a good fit? Are they complying with the vision and the mission of this grant? And it's an absolute yes
Yeah.
for me. So please help.
Oh, yeah, I just opened up
Well,
the
we're ready to
budget
go left.
and it, the budget is really focused on, I guess, like getting the word out more, it seems like. Like,
And
just really
advertising?
broadly. No,
I think
Signage
also
and
for- yeah,
educational,
the infrastructure.
formal entrance, bike rack, weatherproofing message board. So like, that it's a welcoming space for more new people and that there are new ways. So looking at the budget, it doesn't seem like they would do any of these, the budget
It's all new
items, but they
things.
would do the outreach items. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
I mean, that's why I think it's like the same as the chairs, like having bike chairs doesn't increase continued collaboration without there be like programming around that. That's in the grant.
I guess I felt like there were some things in there about improving accessibility and I think making it kind of outdoor classroom spaces. And I guess both my older sister and mother are teachers, elementary school teachers, who have had, I guess, somewhat transformative kind of outdoor classroom build outs over the past few years, as I think a lot of places have, kind of during and post COVID. And I think to me, those accessibility upgrades and kind of improvements to the outdoor classroom spaces would drive extra like additional participation and programming. But
I mean, I can go up on my conformity with grant goals score. I think that's fair.
I think I'm gonna leave my score where it is.
Any final quick comments on the elevated gardening, gardens grow food at high altitude for people and pollinators?
That sounds interesting. What is it?
I graded that one. It's a woman who's already doing this and she's sourcing seeds and plants that are specific
remember that.
to high altitude growing
Yeah.
and so she's trying to help, expand the food system using, suited and adapted plants.
Which is what the Arboretum does too.
Yeah, well, she's doing it more for food. I was out to the Arboretum this summer and they had the ornamental plants, but I didn't see much in the way of food crops or anything.
Well, they just seeded it a
House.
couple years ago as part of the grant system.
Yeah, I didn't see it in evidence then, but
Yeah.
I'd say it wasn't
That's
there,
okay.
but
Who else was on?
yeah, she sounded like she had a pretty good program, and who's already doing it, just looking for support to expand it.
Yeah, but it looks like we were all right.
Yeah, you're all really close.
Right in line, so.
Plus or minus one.
Somebody wrote a good grant.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I thought it was a good one and I would have, it
Yeah.
was in my top 5, I think. as
It
far as
was,
goes.
it was the second highest, I think.
Elevated, does that mean it's like?
Okay,
a garden?
was everyone done updating scores in your sheets?
Yep. I am.
100% done? No more changes and updates?
Yeah, any other changes to any of the other ones that you didn't get to make?
Be comfortable with the way I graded.
Well, I'll do the final.
Is it gonna show up on that little tab that says rankings final?
You have to copy and paste that over.
Okay.
So it'll just be in the all scores.
So the rankings pre-meeting will be updated. All scores.
There's a rankings final tab that's gonna have the updates right now.
Oh, you are.
You wanna pop out there?
I
No.
have to put it in, but that's fine. We can do it in this all scores. So let me do some quick addition.
I like that school carpool thing.
Well, yeah, well, I didn't know that. Buses, I
I think it's budget. It's a
It's
little
like over in
inflated.
another
Oh,
tab.
did you do
I think
it?
it's budget.
Oh, you got it?
That's actually-
$7,000.
Yeah, you want the
That's what I
dollar
spent
amount?
too.
Okay, and so now we need to figure out, do the top ten.
That's the same
and
thing
then
I
see what
said.
the funding
I liked
is.
everything, like $7,000.
I'll let you do that.
Well, it can't be more than 50% for staffing, so it's gotta be.
So the top 10 all asked for $7,500.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
So we can fund the top 10.
Which category is that?
Where are we,
Final now?
where do we see the top 10?
In the
Now
final
you can go to
final.
rankings final.
Oh, there we go.
So
Can you widen that column just a little bit?
right here.
So Fala got their money. La.
Oh.
Did this carpool get its money? Yes.
Mhm.
Quick review of the top projects, Flagstaff Mountain Town Market Shared Solar Generator Project,
Really like that.
2024 Coco-op Tool Library Update Project, the Community Acupuncture Mobile Sustainability Project, Empowering Through E-Waste, QCE Office E-Waste Solutions. I did just want to highlight that I reached out to them and asked if they would be willing to work with,
One of these other groups?
yeah, this Rachel Smith, who applied for recovering electronics. Like really didn't have the structure to be able to carry
Oh,
out
that's great.
something
Yeah.
like that,
Good
but
idea.
that is what Quality Connections does. And so really they
Mhm.
can make that connection. So awesome. Yeah, it's cool. Southside Community Association, Southside Service Corps Pilot Project, Sustaining the Arboretum's Native and Edible Plant Production, Kansas Urban Farms Cultivating Connections, Elevated Gardening's Grow Food at High Altitudes, School Carpool, and Paula's School Garden and Community Table.
Okay.
All right. Now I gotta vote on
Look at
these.
that. We only have 4 minutes.
Okay. So I guess the motion in front of us all, or I'd like to make a motion to vote to approve these top 10 grants as identified here.
I second the motion.
One question, if I just quick math, we're $500 short of spending it all,
Well, she had to get some translations.
191.
I mean, I can technically get that elsewhere, but any of these projects,
Cause like number 9's only
Yeah, the
asking for
budget.
7,000.
Are we approving their budgets right now? Just at
We're
least
approving
those
the whole
10? Because
I mean, yeah.
I'm curious if we can approve projects with a stipulation that some of them we might adjust. Like, for example, the school carpool for 7,000, like,
So if that, for example, like, oh, interesting.
so I'm just saying, like, we
I
might be
think-
able to like get the 11th one. or
Yeah,
something.
but what if the open app doesn't work? What is the open source one isn't actually a viable?
The dreams fell down below the.
So,
I know a lot of it though was also, yeah, just saying in general, like.
so if they
What if some
were
of them
to
reflect-
like have to return funds or something, then that funding after the fiscal year, like, isn't available. It's like, once they return it, it's not available until like the next fiscal year. So it's like the decision needs to be made now. And you know, if we,
Yeah, I know we're in like crunch.
they will have to return the funding if they don't spend it, but
So I guess a quick question and potential proposal that for those that have reviewed these top 10 and have strong feelings towards adjusting one of the budgets, it could allow us to bring in a 11th or 12th one at a moderate level as well, because 7,500 per project is a lot. But just like throwing that out there, I know we're in crunch time, but it's worth considering.
But that's part of the problem is that's what we made the decision based on. They gave us a budget, we determined whether the budget was appropriate. That's what this is all about. It's all
Yeah.
about making the decision.
Yeah.
And if somewhere along the line, like you say, somebody comes back and says, oh, you know what, I only needed 5,000, then we've got some money in the budget possibly for something else, but you
But
can't
did
really
you
go
say
back
had to
and
have been
say,
spent this year? Or it will have to, or
yeah, it would
this
be able
next
to
year?
be like,
She said it
Oh.
can't be reallocated.
no, I realize that, that's what I'm saying. She couldn't reallocate it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't, I mean, it's not like
but I do
it goes back in.
feel like
budget.
it might be, I don't see anyone like jumping out of their seat. I do think it's too late because that was part of the like budget rubric and feasibility.
And I would also like to state that $7,500 is actually not a lot of
It's a
money
lot
to
for
do
us.
significant work.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean,
A lot of.
it's the maximum, but
I guess I'm saying like, since it's a budget note and we're talking about their average scores, maybe they happen to have had a lower budget feasibility score within those. And so it's just like, we're technical.
You can also let them and say, would you mind buying some tables and chairs for this other group?
Yeah, right.
I guess
Well, they didn't make the cut.
adding to that a little bit, the next two projects on there, 11 and 12 that we did discuss, it seems like both of them would be able to accomplish a part of their goal with a partially funded.
But you're gonna have to figure out who you're gonna cut. You have to, well, and you can, isn't that right? They can say, you know what, we'll give you $5,000 for the school carpool. Although Dr. Rose did make the comment that any less, she's gonna have to do fewer schools and it's just.
I
not like
think-
a scale.
Already.
I think that budget manipulation for the projects that have been approved is maybe not appropriate at this point, but I think what we could do is for the projects that haven't been approved, we could ask Project 11, would the X number of dollars that we have left in our budget, would you be able to do something with this? And give them the opportunity to submit a revised budget of what they could do with that money.
We can do that.
I think-
Just wanted to put,
Yeah,
They could buy some of those tests possibly.
I think that's very great, actually.
In fact, in that one project, then bulk of the money is for testing from, send stuff to another lab to test and see how well.
well, maybe with that much money, they could buy the supplies they need to redo their system.
Buy some chairs and tables.
No, what they would probably do is buy the few tests that they would be able to buy with. I think it's like $50 a test.
Okay, well, so they could do a little bit with $500.
Yeah,
Okay.
they
I'll
would
offer that to
partial
them.
some of their testing.
Yep.
And the rest of the stuff was to operate their equipment, which works, they have it not run with a drill. So it's, you wanted to not do that.
Okay, so I'm gonna again, make a motion to approve the top 10 on this list as they stand with these budgets and the 11th with the remaining, to award the remaining funds to, or at least give them the opportunity to submit a new budget to see what they could do with that money. So that's the motion.
I second.
Hey, all in favor?
I,
Aye. All right, so commission then has approved that these top 10 projects will be funded. And at the Flagstaff Water Group, we'll get what's left. We wish them the best. They'll get to do some testing.
$9.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll find.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will definitely be seeking feedback on how this process
Yeah.
went. So look out for that.
First we have to do our.
We learn every year, right? How we can do it better. I think this went all right, though.
Yeah.
And it's not too far past 6:30, so
And you're not a bad guy
let's-
because you voted for all four.
let's move on to and from. Does anybody have anything for to and from?
Sorry.
Anything for to and from?
Happy Thanksgiving.
I actually have one quick thing, if that's all right.
Please.
First of all, just a huge shout out to Tia, the amount of work that went into getting everything coordinated and aligned, as well as to the commissioners. But I'm just letting the commission know about 2.5 hours ago, we submitted a $19.9 million grant to the EPA. So if everyone can just send some good vibes our way, I would greatly appreciate it. So happy to share information about it, but in a nutshell, it is addressing liability biomass, biosolids at our wastewater treatment plant to focus on biochar and then a lot of community engagement in both Sunnyside and Southside.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicole, for sharing that update.
$500 to the chairs and table making. The water people. Well, you know, EPA is gonna try and spend all that.
Do we have any future agenda item requests at this time? I feel focused on the regional plan and getting through the end of the year. So I have nothing.
Can we establish the meeting date for next, to review the plan? Is that?
Yep, we're gonna have a shortened December commission meeting on December 10th,
12.
12.
Thursday.
So
We're gonna have it at, happy hour?
No. There's not.
no,
gonna
but it'll be a
anything
short
about what
meeting,
you're
so
gonna
we can
read.
go directly to happy hour.
That's what I thought.
Later, how-
The agenda for December, happy hour at 5:30.
Yeah, potential quorum outside of the commission meeting.
Yeah, we don't talk about things in a closed forum.
Maybe we should do that then, post
That sounds
potential for quorum, so we can go.
And
Thank you for that suggestion.
Mhm.
I mean, I'd rather just have the whole meeting at dark sky or.
If they're feeling productive enough, phase.
We're gonna need tables and chairs. We're gonna need. tables.
Luckily, they're a business and they.
All right, guys, let's officially adjourn this meeting. Boom.
Hallelujah.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night, Nicole.
I need your email too.
Next meeting is for them.
Well, it was definitely.